Good stuff. There we are, recording. All right. So we're going to create, like I said, we're going to want to create this bank account class. And we're going to start again with, we have our name of our bank. We did kind of decide we're going to do the on-hand cash or like safe amount. And one thing I didn't do here yet, we're going to now add is make these all private. That was bugging any of you? I'm hoping it was, because that should have. If it wasn't, then again, this is something you really want to have in your system. You should always kind of have this urge to isolate or encapsulate and abstract your systems. So you want to make sure they're encapsulated correctly and abstracted correctly. This concept here covers two of your pillars. Both encapsulation and abstraction are involved in this idea of how public or how private is the item in there. So just by putting these variables in there, you're encapsulating these fields. These fields are now encapsulating. And then the accessor is what kind of decides the level of abstraction and how much of an encapsulation it is. Is it something that is fully enclosed inside the capsule, which is our bank class, and that's private, or is it semi-enclosed where you can still access it by seeing it, by having getters? So it's inside the capsule, but using this kind of capsule idea, it's a clear capsule where you can see these fields. You can see them. Or is this something that you can straight up remove and put back into the capsule by having a getter and a setter? Is it a public item? And so this kind of, and it's not abstract at all. It's something you know the exact details on and you can manipulate it freely. And so these kind of accessors, these methods that give you access to fields and how the field is, these play a heavy role in your abstraction and your encapsulation pillars. So having good feeling for this is something you want to build up and have those moments for. So if you're sitting here looking at like, this feels like I should have more here, or these should be private and they're not, why not? Or these should be private and they're public. Someone made these public, why is it public? Those are good feelings to have, and then being able to follow up on them later. So good there. So we'll start with this. It's a good start. We have our good classes right here. This is a good start. So let's go ahead and do the first thing you do, which is, of course, let's just create our bank. So these are standard. Let's just do a sanity check here. What's the term for this item we're about to build? What do we call this? Yeah, good. I'm going to build our constructor.
Our method.
Method, you can call it. Yep. Let's see. So again, let's say I don't know what for sure I'm gonna be sending to my system or not. So let's take a look. What's this data here? We have just a name, cash, and cities. Probably those are the things we need to know right away. We could also just initialize a bank's starting money to 0 and have a way to deposit money into it. So you could always add that as a system later. Like when you're first in the bank, you don't necessarily have money in it. But for this system, we'll go ahead and instantiate it with some money. So what we can do here is to showcase that concept of when you instantiate a bank, you usually don't enter the money it has. There's either a default value you start with, or you'll add the money later after it's been instantiated. It's usually the most common. So what we'll do is we'll kind of fake it this time by doing string name. We'll take the string city. That's there. What we'll do is do this dot name equals name. Dot city equals, and I did the capital C there again for some reason. Don't know why I keep doing that. City. We'll do this dot on hand cash. We'll just set it to $1, $100, $1,000, and one, two, I think $1 million, right? One more. So that's our decimal there. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So yeah, that would give us $1 million if these are in pennies right now. So imagining those are in pennies, we have $1 million. Or if anyone's been looking into cryptocurrency like I have, this is 1 ADA. So yeah, that's something I've been doing a lot in the cryptocurrency world recently. You'll probably be hearing something soon. If anyone's interested in cryptocurrency, we're probably going to be doing a side class for anyone who has the time that's interested in it. But I've been dealing with a lot of it, and yeah, that's 1 ADA because all that's in Loveless. But again, that's going in a whole different transit. That's all I've been doing the last couple weekends. Is digging into cryptocurrency, built a blockchain. So good fun. Anyway, do that, and we'll also do this dot client or clients. And we'll just initialize this to new array. empty, put it there. That's going to create our bank for us. And so the very first thing we're going to want to do is add a client. Let's just create a client, add them to the system. Let's go ahead and there. I'll get that. Cool. Add. And really what we want to do is we want this client to be all this process is actually going to create the client as well. We've been kind of always doing these add items to our lists, and then the creating happens in another method. Well, this is kind of our top level item. This is our bank. When you want to make a client and you want to become the client of a bank, you go to the bank and then they make you a client, right? They add you to the system. So this is the spot where we're actually also going to not just add it, but also create it. What you see a lot of times to keep things clean is that you do an add client and then you'll also have a private void create client method. This will create the abstract item. And a safe way to this is to see, well, what item should be in charge of what? This is in charge of adding the client to the list, and this is in charge of actually creating the client. So that way, in later on situations, if there might be some other item that wants to create the class, we can have something else call this method. We don't bind the adding and creating to the same system. These are two different behaviors or two different actions that are taking place. Yes, our add client can call the create client, but two different actions are taking place here. So starting here, we can decide, well, what do we need in order to create the client, and what does add client need to give us? So that way we know what needs to become here. And you don't necessarily need to know exactly what this method, each method needs.
Will, mute your mic, man.
Is that all right now?
Good recovery, Will. That was clean. Can he not hear us?
Will, can you hear us? Do it, let's do it.
Oh. I am so confused. Oh.
The background video is not showing his face. There.
There it is.
You got to turn on the background.
There it is. Oh,
he's
it's
popping in
ghost.
periodically.
Yeah.
Wait, can you hear us?
Creeping. I don't think you can hear us.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Oh.
Will, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, hear me.
Will, we hear you.
I said we can hear you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, we hear you fine, Will, but you can't hear us. Also, you might want to let them know we are recording.
Hey guys. That wasn't me. It's been captured for posterity.
Can you hear us yet?
I know what it is. Yeah, it went off. There you go. So what do you guys think was going on at first?
We thought Will was well, I thought Will was watching some sport video laughing. I don't know.
I don't know what was going on.
I got nothing. I don't know. He was laughing about something. And then Cliff said he heard your voice. I don't know how. I don't know if he dreams about you like creeping and like being weird and noises and stuff, but he knew your voice by like a sound. It was weird.
I kind of know him a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Just a little. But it took you a few seconds to figure it out, though.
Yes.
What did you think was happening at first, Cliff?
I thought maybe like background TV or something like that to hit on, or some sort of video ad started, and I couldn't tell what it was.
Or like he pulled a Titus and has basketball on and freaked out. Someone made a shot. Something like that. I don't know.
That has happened. Yes.
Good stuff. All right, guys. Well, great seeing everybody's faces except for, everybody I can say. Is that Chang?
That's Chang.
Yep.
He's
How's it
muted
going?
though. There you go.
What's going on? It's good to see you guys. Cullen,
Barnell.
we're almost done with that bake item that you gave us, that baked good thing that you gave me.
Oh my gosh.
We're almost done with it. Couple more slices left.
Jeez.
Brings me back to the early days of COVID.
Yes. Awesome. All right, guys, that's it. I am out.
Good that Will can hear us now.
Wait,
That's good.
how did you get on Will's jet? Like, how come none of us were invited?
This was originally my jet. I gave it to Will.
Oh, okay. All right.
I used this in my first class, one of my first classes I taught with Will's class, and they were like, whoa, he is a baller. Before people figured that Zoom had backgrounds, they thought that I was literally in a jet.
That's awesome.
Now I gotta flex on him for real. All right, guys, take care. Have a good one.
Take it easy. See ya.
That's our leader, everyone.
Yup.
Yeah, yep.
Yep, pretty much.
That's my business partner.
Oh wait, is this?
I wouldn't have a different one. What's
Is
that?
it still recording?
Yes.
Oh, oops.
I might actually try to cut this part out just so that the students don't have to go through this to get to the lesson.
Oh, it's a fun.
I say that you keep it.
I'm going to keep it.
That's gonna be worth money when I run for president. No, yeah.
There we go. Just hold this over Arnell's head. Hey, Arnell, you want me to release this?
Either you give me this job or else I'm releasing it.
Exactly right.
All right, let's get back to it. So as I was saying, we have our add class and our add client and create client methods. Like I said, the main thing this does is that abstraction system and the separation of concern we've talked about. That idea that each method does one thing. Do you have to do this? Technically, no. But again, the idea behind this is that idea that I've created this method that can now be used by other parts of this class. So other parts of this class or other methods of this class, they realize, oh, I should create a client too. I can. I may not need that, but hey, it's separate. So and the other thing it also does is it just lets me know that if we're having bad client data in our system, we know, oh, well, let's check the create client first. It's a good space to check first. Our clients aren't, like the name isn't coming in right. Well, that's probably not the add client method that's doing it. It's probably the create client method that's not working right. So it's a good place to start. So it also helps with debugging, knowing what each method does is to then check, is that where the problem's happening? Well, then it's probably in that method. So that's the other reason behind this, the benefit to it. So let's start here. We can now look into what do we need to create a client so that we can get, so that create client can ask for it and add client can make sure it gets it too. So let's do client equals new client. You see if we hit Command P, or I think maybe Control P on Windows, I don't know, but Command P on Mac, we can force this to pop up. We can see we need a name, a last name, and a social security number and an address. So we need to get those items. Are these things that we can just get ourselves, or are these things that we can generate, or are these things we have to ask for from the user?
All right. See you.
We would have to ask.
Yeah, we'd have to get this from the user, right? Most likely the teller, right? So we definitely need to accept those in as parameters. String name. Why is that yelling at me? Oh, right, because that doesn't exist yet. Name, string SSN, address. And this will help me to know that I need to copy this, and I can just put that right in there. Oh, which means I don't need to do these. I don't know why I did that. There. once we have that information, is there anything else we need to do with the client, or are we good to just kind of, or is that what we want? Anything else we need to do to the client?
To add it to the list of clients.
Just add it, but that's not what create clients can do. So yeah, this is, we've created the client. Let's just go ahead and actually not save it and just return it. Oh, right. Do that. So that'll create a client and return it back to us. So now we can go here and do clients.add, create client, and now we got to send it the same data. So let's grab this stuff, put that in there, and do the same thing. First name, last name, send, and address. There we go. Now, some of you might be thinking like, this seems a little unnecessary. This is where you're wondering like, is this breaking things down too much? And yeah, that's an argument you can make with the team of whether or not it's needed. But that's why I'm also wanting to show you that these things are done, that these are things that can be done. These are kind of practices you might see. And seeing these a ton of one-line methods is actually fairly common practice in Java. This idea of, again, each method doing one single thing. So this one adds the client, well, we're adding it, but to add the client, we need the client. So we're going to go ahead and create the client. What we can do with benefits on this one is we can also do a override now. So let's say we have an override where we're going to assume the address and just the person doesn't give us an address, they're just going to give us the city. And so we can just assume the city is the same city as the bank. And we can create an override version where we do, I didn't need to do that. Client. Let's say we want one that takes first name, last name, and that. We can do clients.add, create client, first name, and then we're just going to add the city from the bank. We'll use the bank's same city to fill in the address as a placeholder. And so now you can see where the slight benefit comes from. If I didn't have this separate create client item, I'd have to do the new client on both methods. What changed in this one is now both methods, both these guys still call the same create client. We just figure out, how do I get that data, right? I can get the data in different ways. You kind of see how that's going now?
Say that again?
Oh, right. So in this system, we're seeing that I can use an override. So let's say we want two different ways we can create a client. So in one system, we're going to get the address from the user. They're going to give us all their information. The person actually tells us, here's my first name, my last name, my social security number, and my address. Here you go. Let's say we have an alternative version where we say, you know what? They give us their first, last name, and social security, but we didn't get the address from the person. We know this stuff, we didn't get the address, so we'll just use the bank's city as a placeholder. And so in this case, we have an overload of the same method, just with less variables. It's going to do the same behavior of creating a client, adding it to the list. We're just going to use the bank's city, which might help if I do this. You can see where it's coming from, this.city, in order to fill in that requirement of the address. The client requires an address. So that's where that slight change can be. And that's why it can be beneficial to separate the create client method from the add client method. So as you do more of these will make more sense because these will get more complicated, these concepts. But yeah, the add and create, having those separate can be very, very useful in long-term behavior. So that's why you want to keep it in your mind. Like that, is it required in certain situations? No, but it can definitely benefit you. And again, it follows good best practices in Java. So this is best practices. Every method doing a single task. So add client, what does that entail? If I need to create it, well, that's not adding the client, that's creating the client. That's a different action. Let me create a new method for that. Now that we have a client, let's actually create the display client method so we can at least see that this works. Who cares about accounts yet? Who cares about adding accounts to clients? Let's just make sure that that the add client works. That add and create works by creating the display system. So private, void, or string, sorry. Public. Display account, sorry, client. Oh, yeah. display clients. And so we want to go through, we want to display each client. One by one, what we're going to do is we're going to create. This is behavior I like to do. So whenever I do a method that needs to return something, I always do something like this at least. Push with string, output, empty string, return. This at least makes the method happy for now, and then I can add my logic in here to convert the output to what I want it to be. But at least the method's happy, and I could even run this method periodically to see how the output's going. So I can actually run this as is, even though it won't do anything, it will run. And it's one of those things I like to do with these, with any method that requires a return type. I put the required return in there as simplistic as possible, just so that I can run this project at any time. I can run it at any time and have it run fine. So, display clients. We need to display multiple. What kind of system should I use for that?
A loop.
I should probably do a loop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. What kind of loop? Which loop sounds good?
For each.
Yeah, for each, or with the other one, what's it called?
For in?
For in, right? For in, right? Well, we do have a for each. There is actually for each. It's a method. So I do clients dot for each. That is a method that does it. And again, I can't break out of that early. That's different. The for in is the for client in clients, like that. So that's the for in. So do be aware there's a for each and a for in. That is different. This is not a for each, even though some people like to refer to that. It is not a for each. This is a for in. For each is a method built on top of lists. Always be aware of that in the back of your head. So each client, we're simply going to do output plus equal client dot. Look at that. We want to get the name of the client, right? But we don't seem to be able to. Any idea why? If I can't get the name, what does that most likely mean? Without even to go look, what does that tell me? What is my assumption right now?
You don't have access to it.
Yeah, it's private.
Yeah, the field's probably private, and I probably don't have a getter yet, do I? And that's something that you can be okay with, and that means, oh, good, I need to go make it now. So I can go here and I can now make the get name method. So I can now create the getter. And that's nice. I'll actually use the built-in system. There we go. Get name. We'll save it. We'll go back to bank now, and now we'll check and see. There it is. Beautiful. Get name. Yeah, we'll start with that. Or we can do next would actually be. I probably want to know how many accounts this client has, right? How many accounts they have. So we'll do. Huh, well, I don't have any. I do have a display accounts, so that could work. Let's do that instead, actually. Let's go ahead and do this. We'll do accounts /n, and we'll then have the client.display account system then give us another string to display all this client's accounts, and finish it up with another new line so that we can make sure we go to the next line for the next client. That looks nice, right? Sounds possible. Sounds like it might be useful. Let's test this now. Let's see how this works. So we head over to main. Let's clean up some of this stuff. We're not going to add any accounts. I'll use that. I'm going to keep my client name there for a second just so we can, again, remember what we put there. But now I'm going to go ahead and let's create a bank. So, bank. Bank. New bank. Let's see what kind of creative people we have here. What's the name of our bank? Does anyone have a geeky name to our bank or a developer name to our bank? creativity do we have here?
Coders Credit Union.
What is it?
Coders Credit Union.
There we go. Go by Coders Credit.
I was expecting a pun there, Colin, but I'll accept Coders Credit Union. That's fair.
Yeah, me too.
What's their city name? Let's see if anyone can go with a pun for the city name then. Christian,
Yeah.
you called him out for not having a pun. Can you come up with a pun now?
Dev
I'm
Island.
witty, man.
What'd you got, Will?
Waves
Dev Island.
expertise.
Dev Island. All right, we'll go with that. The new Rhode Island. I'm pretty sure Rhode Island's a state, but we'll use Dev Island as a city. Sounds good.
Oh, what about
Dev
Long
Island.
Island. Long Island's a...
Long Island's actually real.
Yeah, but like, that's a city. That's an area. So Dev Island,
All right, cool. That works. Good. Okay, I see the defense you're giving. Cool, cool, cool. Awesome. So we got our bank. Let's go ahead and do our bank. Add client. I'm gonna go ahead and add in this guy right here for now first. That one first. Add a second client. This one, of course, will leave the address out. Who wants to join our bank, Coders Credit Union?
I'll join.
Yay, our interest rates are logarithmic. Oh. We need to delete social security number. And we won't give an address because again, we're going to use that overload that we have that you didn't give us an address, and we're just going to say you live in Dev Island as well. We'll see how that works. And our bank. Display clients. We're going to wrap that in an S out. See if that works. Take a look. So Clifton showing your accounts. I don't know why accounts printed twice. I got to check on that. That's interesting. Oh, because the display accounts actually prints accounts already. Ah. Back to bank. We don't need this. We just need the new line. Let me play that again so you can see what I mean. Our display accounts prints the word accounts already. You can see accounts and debit cards for Cliff Lunar, Will Brown, accounts, debit cards. We have none of those. So now becomes a more complicated item. We need to create and add accounts. Well, how many accounts do we have? How many different types of accounts are there that we use?
Lots. 5, 4.
We definitely use at least 4, right? We do have bank account as well. We
bank
definitely
account
use
is
these
good.
4, right? We definitely use these. We could, of course, use bank account too, but these are 4 that we definitely use. Our checking, our savings, our investment and CD investment. What's needed to create these? Do they all need the same information? Do they all need different information? Well, we know the savings account requires a balance, owner, an account number, interest. Our checking account requires a balance, owner, account number, and daily limit. Our investment account requires a balance, owner, account number, and investment. And our CD requires the balance, owner, account number, and a time frame. So each of these require different things, right? We know that all of them definitely require the balance, owner, and account. So that's a definite we need. But everything else needs this different item. Now for those items, let me go ahead and mute that so it doesn't keep going off. Now for this information, the next question is how many of these items can be automated? Or how many items of these are static to the system? So let's see, a savings account. Are you gonna, let's say, let's just have fun here. Does anyone here think that you would get the same interest rate as Arnell for a savings account?
No.
Probably not, right? Probably gonna get a different savings account, right? Your interest rate's probably gonna be different. For an investment account, probably same thing, right? Is there any sort of static investment percentage that you're gonna get on an investment account, or is that kind of change periodically, or is that different for each person, right? Depending on the person signing up, right? We got a problem there. Some of these are going to be, they're not static values that we can just set our bank to do it. Now, yes, we could say that all savings account in our bank are just a static value. We can also get the interest rate from the person typing at the keyboard. We can also have a little fun with this system. And this is where we can see that where we get this data might change. We could also be getting our data from an API, right? In the long run. For like our investment system, we could be saying, hey, get me the current interest rate for our investment accounts at the moment. What are our CD accounts going at the moment? It's going to change periodically. For a savings account, I may end up asking you, well, how much money are you putting in the day to start? And I'm going to send that. I'm going to use that to then calculate what our interest rate is, right? So that's kind of the information we're getting. And so there's two things we can do here. One, we can definitely ask our console to say, hey, enter this unique information we need. Because we need to know this unique information once we know what account we're creating. So let's think about the process. So go back to bank. This might make a little more sense in a second. So if I do the create account, I need to know what account to create so I know what data I need, right? I need to know if I'm creating a checking account, a savings account, an investment account, or a CD account, right? I need to know that before I can do anything. Private. Account. Like we said before, there's a couple of things we know we need, which was that balance. Go back to CD investment, we can see that we have the owner name. And we have, what was the other thing we had? The account number. Now, account number though, is that something that we should be accepting or is that something that should be generated?
I would say generated.
Yeah, we probably should generate that. So I'm not going to accept that as a parameter. I don't know what that is. But what else do we need to know? In order to create an account, I also need to know what type of account, right? So we can do string account type. And what can I use to handle different account types, different scenarios? I want a checking or a savings or a CD or a investment. You could say that they could send me one of these, like they could send checking as a parameter. They could send savings as a parameter. They could send me CD as a parameter. Or they could send me the phrase, there. I could get one of these strings. What's an easy way for me to handle all these possibilities?
You switch?
Good. I'm glad we didn't hear if statement. Thank y'all. You can do a switch case, right? A switch case allows me to quickly just, depending on what the value of something is, I can just do it. I can't do comparators. I can't do less than or equal or anything like that. But I can say if the account number type is this, do this behavior. If it is this one, do this behavior, et cetera, et cetera. Switch, account type, case, check. Add the break now. The default case where I'm just going to do S out. Account type. Return null. So add a return null there so that the system's happy. Because right now I'm not returning anything here. So that way. So just so you know why I did that. The reason why here the system was still not happy is because there's a path the code could follow that would not return an account. If I hit checking account, I hit here, I then hit the break, I would then pop down to this line of code and I wouldn't return an account. yes, here I'd return something. So this path, hitting the default case, I complete what's required that I do return something. But technically there was a path to return nothing. So either the two ways of fixing it, like I said, was either to add the return null here. However, I actually don't like that idea because I want to make sure that one of these cases are returning something. Every single one of these cases should create an account and return an account. So instead of using the break, I'm just going to return null until I create an account. Sound good? So our checking system. So if you do here, we now do return new checking account. See that we need, of course, as we were last time. Why is it yelling at me? Why is it not doing the auto import again? I don't know why yours doesn't want to do that for me. Weird. Anyway. Balance we got. Owner we have. How do we want to do the account number? Any ideas for the account number? Should we randomly generate it, or for the time being, should we just kind of have an incrementer, like some sort of just account of how many accounts we have? What do you think? Hang on, I just thought about it. We don't actually have a list of accounts yet, do we? So we're not storing them in our bank, so there's no way for us to know how many accounts we've had, do we? No, so we should, even though, yeah, we're going to link the accounts to the clients, we should probably have a list of accounts for the bank too, so it knows how many accounts it has. But the bank can very quickly know how many accounts. So let's add that quick. List. We'll actually do the new array list up here. What here now is we do length, size, and we'll do +1, so it's the next number in the series. So however many accounts we have, we'll add one to it. This will be the starting way we do account numbers. It'll just be an incremental starting from 1 and going up.
Can you go back to the top again?
Yeah, sure. Sorry. Right here. I did that a little quick. So go ahead and add in the accounts list. So you have a way to store the accounts in the bank as well. So that way, even though, yeah, we're going to link these to the client as well, the bank should have access to them as well, so that the bank knows how many accounts they have and they can list all their accounts. Good? Cool.
Yeah. Wait, go back in one more second.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Coding along, I like it. Good stuff. So we got that. Now there's one more thing we need. We need that daily limit for our account. And again, this is one of those questions you got to wonder though. Someone like, again, myself or anyone here, we create a bank account, checking account with, let's say, any sort of bank down here in Providence, Citizens, or Bank of America, or Santander, whatever that is. And let's say Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos, they open a checking account. Would it be safe to say that they would have a different daily limit than you?
Yes.
Probably a safe thing to say, right? I think it'd be safe to say that they probably have a different daily limit than the rest of us. So this is something that, again, we're probably going to either want to get from the terminal, from the person, the actual, like the bank teller, while they're creating the account, saying, hey, well, you're creating a checking account. What's the daily limit for this person? We could also just have the system just generate one for us for debugging, right? Instead of always having to ask for it, we could also just create this system that could just randomly generate a daily limit for us. That way we can kind of just save time. And so this is where we're going to see the next interface we're going to create. I'm going to comment this out for the time being. And I'm going to introduce you to a new bank tool. New Java class, we'll call this an interface, and I'm going to call it UI, or user interface. The UI interface. Our UI interface will have two methods, public number, int I don't need the public there. Just remember int get number and string get string. Also going to accept one parameter called query. This will allow us to ask a question just in case this is something that we're going to display on some sort of interface. Either it's a website, a pop-up window, or a terminal. Doesn't matter where it's popping up, just that it's going to pop up something. Sound good so far? I'm going to create two interfaces now, or two classes that are going to implement this. The first one will be console. What's the command again to utilize an interface? Remember? What's that?
Is it implement?
Yes, implements. I. It's going to yell at us because we have to show the, we're going to show the, come on, display it. No, we're not going to do it? Of course. You can see right here, we aren't implementing the methods yet. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. It's going to show us the two methods we need. We're going to add them in. It adds default behavior to make the thing happy. I'll do this quick. Enter. Enter. Oh, let's show the SAN would actually work. System in. I'm going to leave this here. This is all I'm going to give you guys because this is going to be your challenge of the weekend to create this. Let's create another bank, another one. Have a class. This one's going to be called chaos. Implements UI. Go ahead and implement the methods. And this one, I'm going to give you this. Random rand equals new random. So with this information, I want you to try to build these two classes with the interface based on the console using a scanner, and chaos is going to use a random. That makes sense?
Okay.
I'm also going to change one quick thing, by the way. I forgot something. Query. Min. Max. Well, actually, no, that'll be an additional challenge. So I'm gonna add a comment. Challenge. Max options to the get number. Sound good? So that can be an extra challenge for you guys. So keeping it within a range. So right now, our get number will allow us to enter any number whatsoever. It's not going to do any sort of validation. Just going to accept it. We're going to be able to get any number whatsoever. But this would be the additional challenge there, asking us to give us a number between a certain range. So that's that hacker challenge, making sure that the number we're going to get will be within a certain range. Both from the console, we'll make sure that we get data validation there, and also from the chaos system, make sure that it gives us a item that we need. Actually, I might change this, but I'm curious to see what you guys come up with this one. The chaos system for our get string. That might behave different for me. That we'll see what you guys do. So again, see what you come up with. This is going to be your chance to try to come up with a user interface. And then the secondary challenge is to get this to work with our UI. So what I'm going to do here is say UI. Get number. What do we need for this guy? It was going to be the day limit. Oh, totally forgot. Our account number must be a string, so we're also going to do a. No. So I'll show you a little trick here we can do. So yes, you could use the parse int system, right? Oh, you have to do parse int. I forgot. I'm thinking JavaScript right now. Never mind. String. Okay. to string, counts the signs, get +1. Do that, and that'll work. Okay. And then over here, what we're going to do is under the add account, public. We know we need balance these guys. Add. Account. Balance. All right, and so your challenge would be to get this code working, which means that in your main, you will need to implement or instantiate a UI, and then call create account to create a checking account. Sound good? That's going to be your challenge for the weekend. Implement these two classes so that they successfully do different behavior. Instantiate one of them and use it to add an account to give me and Will both an account, a checking account. Sound good?
Yep.
All right. Go ahead and do this before we get off so that everyone knows that I did it and I actually did push it. Okay.
When are you gonna upload the video?
I'm going to try to get it up tonight. So again, we're later than tomorrow morning. I'm going to go meet up cohort 8 first. So the video takes a little longer to process because it's got to process 2 videos at the same time, but I'll try to get it up tonight.
Okay.
All right, it's all there. So yeah, download this, give this a shot. We'll see what we'll come up with next on Monday. This is one of the ones we'll actually take a look because this one I think could be that we could see different, very different implementations of this. So this could be nice to see what you guys came up with for your chaos and console versions of the UI interfaces. So very curious to see what everyone came up with. So we will be taking a look at the code. So this is one of the ones you do want to take the time this weekend to do. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. I'll see everyone on Monday.
Peace.
Have a good weekend. See you.